next speaker is the director of NYers United for Kids, and she is actually from Putnam County. She came all the way out here to speak at the Owego meeting last night, stayed overnight in her own dime, and is here again today. She's been fighting against Common Core, and if you know, there is a connection between all of these. There's a connection between our loss of property rights, our loss of our Second Amendment rights, and our education being attacked by something called Common Core. So Cathy's going to come up now, and she'll briefly fill us in on what's going on with that. Thank you. Cathy Sapeta. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Cathy, and I am enthusiastic about children, and I decided to become a teacher. When I finished my degree, something didn't sit right, and I found out that the federal government overhauled our education system. I decided to do something about it. I decided to form an association called NYers United for Kids, and we educate and advocate for local control of education. We're a political action grassroots group, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight to learn more about your rights, and please continue to push back. I know many of you have been very instrumental working against the Unsafe Act and also working up in Albany for the unconstitutional Common Core. The name of the association is NYers United for Kids. Just recently, there was a huge opt-out of the test movement. Parents, refuse your test, it's your parental right. If you need more information about that, please visit our website. If you'd like to have us come up and give fact-based presentations to unravel the Common Core marketing, we'd be happy to do that. I'm going to talk to you for about 7 minutes about the Advanced Placement U.S. History. So, some facts about the College Board, who controls it. They control and administer the SAT, as well as well over 30 Advanced Placement U.S. History courses. And those are the courses that are very popular, especially among the high-achieving students. It helps save time and money for the parents. Despite its private status, there's a very intertwined connection with the Department of Education. There are federal funds, or taxpayers' dollars, that are taken. And over the last 10 years, on average, $40 million a year has been received from the federal government. Now remember, it's a private company, private in name only. Despite this government funding, it practically has no accountability. Students, parents, nor elected representatives can find out anything about how decisions are done. It's done behind closed doors. Okay, so in 2013, there were about 500,000 students who took the Advanced Placement U.S. History. Now this year, it's been changed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what the changes are. Peter Wood, who's the president of the National Association of Scholars, describes this new framework as dispiriting. It sounds some ideologically themes rather loudly. It focuses on a disproportionate degree, and it downplays or ignores the positive aspects of United States history. Larry Krieger has done an audio clip on our website. It's there for you to listen to at www.nyunited4kids.com. Larry is an expert on the Advanced Placement U.S. History. He's written several books and preparation materials for teachers and students. He found it very hard to believe what he saw. It used to be about a 4-page outline. Now it's about a 98-page outline. What bothered him most is what he didn't see. So let's take a little trip through what we see in that outline. In New England, John Winthrop's classic City on a Hill is missing. This is a story of the beginning of American exceptionalism. President Reagan used to like to talk about that shining city on a hill. It's been on many tests, but now all of a sudden it's gone. There was no Roger Williams, the founder of the Rhode Island colony. He also started the religious tolerance and American religious freedom. That was not there. That used to play a very important part of the Advanced Placement U.S. history. We move on to the southern colonies. There was no House of Burgess. There was also no James Madison nor Thomas Jefferson. There's no real discussion of America as a cradle of democracy or a great democratic tradition. Then he flipped over to the Manifest Destiny. When he would teach it, he would talk in his career that this was America spreading and supporting the U.S. expansion westward. And it was also about institutions and new technology. But in the new definition, he found that it said, quote, that it asserted power in the Western world and supported the U.S. expansion westward, which was built on the belief of white racial superiority. When he went on to World War II, he found a quote where it talked about the American Expeditionary Force, which played a limited role on the war. Now let's talk about those 4 million who went to Europe. 115,000 of those people gave their life and 200,000 were wounded. They saved Europe, but yet there was just that limited message. World War II, only 2 sentences. The Holocaust is not mentioned, neither is Dwight D. Eisenhower. None of the stories of American heroes or the soldiers are mentioned. And America's long fight to save us from ending the Nazi fascism is not mentioned. Larry was shocked, but what did he find instead? Was a litany of oppression and exploitation. Dr. Ralph Ketchum, an acclaimed biographer of James Madison, I quote, he says that the new A-push curriculum represents the bad and the ugly, not the good. The result is a portrait of dystopianism, racism, violence, hypocrisy, imperialism and greed, injustice. And those stories of our national triumph, great feats of learning, and of history and legacy of some of the greatest American heroes is not mentioned or completely ignored. The College Board will say it's only a framework. Teachers can populate whatever they like. We can't list everybody. So Larry went on to see who was mentioned, and the framework mentions 51 people, so he said, oh yeah, there's plenty of space to mention others. They somehow seem to have room for the Black Panthers and the Students for a Democratic Society, but there's no room for greats like Dr. Martin Luther King, or Rosa Parks, or Dwight D. Eisenhower, and the list goes on. These were people of courage and conviction. Rosa Parks had the courage to say no, and Reagan had the courage to stand at the wall and say, at the Berlin Wall, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Larry started doing some research, and he found Jane Robbins of American Principles Project. I highly recommend her. She has a 5-part series and explains the Common Core. It's also up on our website. Now, take a few minutes just to talk about the relationship of the test and the curriculum. This is very, very important, because remember before they said, oh, well, we're framework and you can do whatever you want. Well, actually, if you look on page 2 of the framework document, it says that only the essential questions really matter. So what's on the test is what's going to be taught. Everything else won't really matter much. There was a haste in this, and Larry Krieger wanted to know why. Stanley Kurtz provided the research behind the why of this. A relative small group from the College Board and a New York professor named Bender collaborated. They turned away from the traditional outline. What they did is turn this into a transnational, globalist approach to American history. And it's America, one nation amongst many. The globalist approach, it takes out every trace of American exceptionalism, and that's why there's no Jane Madison, nor the City on a Hill sermon, nor the I Have a Dream speech, nor the Gettysburg Address. If it illustrates American exceptionalism, it's simply not there. And this is being forced into classrooms now. What can you do? You can call your political leaders, you can call your congressional leaders, and tell them that you want this gone. We recommend not to take this advanced placement U.S. history course, and political pressure, as you know, it absolutely will work. Enough of us need to know what's going on in the classroom. But it's not just AP U.S. history. I'll close with a couple more comments on how this relates to the Common Core. No course exists in isolation. The advanced placement is at the top of the line, but if I grab control of where it's going to end, I'm going to always go down to the rest of the line. So what happens? There's a theme. You look at what happens in the lower grades. Some of you might have heard out in California, there was a big controversy about a particular lesson. They had asked the students to debate whether or not the Holocaust actually existed. But before I go into that, David Coleman is the College Board president. He's also the architect of the Common Core. He was declined a job as a teacher in the New York City school districts, but yet he is now seemingly in control of all of this education that goes into our students. He went to Chicago and put together a program that did data maintenance, and he collected data on children. He received funding from a foundation. One man involved was Bill Ayers, and the other person was Barack Obama from Chicago. Then Coleman returned to New York, and he founded an organization called Student Achievement Partners. Then Coleman went to Mr. Bill Gates, and he got funds to help start the Common Core. Then he moved on to the College Board. And this is throughout every school in our nation. And he said that his goal was to align the SAT and the ACT with the Common Core. Now remember, in the A push, Hitler and the Holocaust are not mentioned, and they decided to have room to talk about the American internment of the Japanese. So in this California 8th grade lesson, what they did was have to have the children debate whether or not the Holocaust existed. They were to read information from several texts. They were to see different points of view, read the text. You know, that would be okay if it was ice cream, but this is something that we know that historically happened. I do not believe that this approach is in the best interest of the children, whether or not the Holocaust existed. The students in that presentation, half of them came out with the conclusion that this was a myth. It was ignoring and removing from our children some of what happened in the rest of the world. We were the force here in the United States standing against this great evil. Now, if the situation didn't exist, neither did the greatness of what helped make it go away. I encourage you to get more informed what is happening in schools, visit our website, and keep doing what you're doing, showing up, learning the truth, and standing up for our rights. Thank you, Bill.